Excelente, etc.
Thrill me.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Horror Flicks and Guitar Picks podcast. I'm your host, Tim, and today I'm joined by a three-time guest, the one and only Tom Bienkowski of the band Flesh Creep. How's it going, man?
Going very well, Tim. I'm glad to be back. How's it going?
I'm stoked to have you back, man. It's been so long, I didn't even remember that we did 2 episodes. It was a blast chatting with you both times, like you said before we hopped on. So I'm glad to have you back for a third time to talk about possession of all things. So.
Of all things, the hot topic of the moment. No, yeah, as I say, I had a blast. I've had a blast every time I've come on here, and yeah, I figured, as I say, now's the time. We obviously my band just put out a record, so I got to get my face out there and, and promote it. But no, and also as we mentioned, kind of the Possession remake is happening. Just in the time that we decided to do this podcast, and now there's been like leaks of photos from the set, right?
Yeah.
So I figure there's like a lot of stuff going on in Possession world that I have feelings about and would like to would like to throw out into the void. I also obviously, in running up to this, rewatched the original. As always, every single time I've watched that movie 100 times, and every time I have more to say about it, and I feel like new things present themselves to me. It's a true. Anyone that's watched the movie will know that it's a truly wild ride. So
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a fun one.
Oh, fuck yeah. And of course, we can't go without mentioning that Sam Neill passed away as well just recently. So, and
Of course.
For horror fans, he's like low key horror royalty. You know, he did the Omen sequel. He did this.
Mhm.
He did Event Horizon.
Horizon's so sick.
Yeah. So he
Massive
deserves
Madness
his. Oh yeah,
as well.
Sutter
John
King.
Carpenter, so sick. Yeah, he's a real like chameleon in the terms of like throughout my life. Like I think there's always whatever like kind of style of movie. Like as I said, like the one we're going to talk about today is a super like artsy, weird kind of out there movie. But then he's also been in like Jurassic Park, which is like one of the best blockbuster type movies. And then like Event Horizon is kind of like a really sort of good B movie, if you know what I mean. Like I think it's like that's a movie. I mean, we could do a whole other episode about Event Horizon. God,
Yeah.
it's that perfect level of like it's kind of knows it's a B movie and it doesn't try and be anything else, but at the same time it's like super serious about it. Do you know what I mean? Like it takes itself like that's kind of what I want from those type of movies. I want them to be like kind of silly in concept but serious in execution, and I think that movie is like one of, if not the best example of that type of thing. Like it's such a banger, like, and it's so great. Do you ever like meet someone who's never watched it, and it's always one of those where it's just like, oh, stop what you're doing and fucking put on Event Horizon. Like, which I can't be said of Possession, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a movie where I have to like gauge the type of person that you are. I've definitely recommended it to many people who have come back to me and been like, yeah, what the fuck was that, man? Like, it's, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, where do we start? Like, it's such a sprawling, like, well of a movie. I don't even know where to begin with it. Like, I guess do we kind of just sort of give the elevator pitch for those who may have had the misfortune of never having seen Possession?
Yeah, we could do that before we throw out the spoiler warning. And of course, before we jump straight into Possession, though, I do want to just mention, the new album Glimmer is excellent. I love it. I want to, if you want to promote that
Thank
real
you
quick,
very
just
much.
let people know where to check it
Yeah,
out.
yes. So we just put out an like it's like 6 songs. It's what we consider to be somewhat of a level up in terms of certainly production value, but also hopefully songwriting and everything else. We recorded it like last year, so it really kind of feels sort of lived in at this point to us, at least.
Yeah.
And it's very surreal having it out there in the world for everyone else to listen to. I like it's beating the test of every time we put out music, I'll not listen to it for a while and then I'll go back to it. And some stuff I'm okay with, and some stuff I'm like, this sucks. Like, what were we thinking? But this one is definitely, s- at least like since we made it to now, it stood the test of time for me. So I would like to think that everyone else in next year, or hopefully many years to come, will still enjoy it. Um, it's kind of yeah, it's definitely a an interesting collection of songs, and I think I must sort of give my flowers to my bandmates. They worked extra hard on this one. Um, yeah, it's cool. You should listen to
Oh yeah.
it. I'm not so good with the like. I can talk for hours about like other people's art, but when it comes to my own, it's kind of like, yeah, they're a bunch of songs. They got mosh parts and heavy bits and all types of cool shit. So yeah, anyone listening, if you like, kind of, I don't know, a if you were interested to hear a new take on traditional hardcore punk, I guess that's about as broad as I could put it. And yeah, we're hopefully going to be playing songs off it everywhere. We'd love to get over to the States at some point.
Oh yeah.
Kind of it's definitely something that we've thought about and tried to work the logistics out of. It's just touring's expensive.
Yeah.
um, it'll happen. It'll definitely happen at some point. We're as I say, we're very lucky in that we have a wonderful record label that is supporting us in Music Donations. They're great. Shouts out to those guys. So yeah, fingers crossed. If you're listening, maybe we'll play in your town some point in the future. If not now, then we already have the follow up to this record recorded, so there'll be a full length within the next, you know, who knows when the next record will come out, but it exists at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll that's yeah, go listen to Glimmer by Flesh Creep,
Oh yeah.
intrepid listener.
Now dropping this one mid-year, I mean, and then you kind of don't want to drop one too close to the end of the year because then you miss out on all those top of the year lists and stuff. And so,
Most certainly.
my buddy Travis that does the monthly roundtable episodes, he is like really disappointed that they dropped their Eternal Sleep record in December
Oh yeah.
because it like fell through a lot of not that he expected it to go on like people's top
hmm
list, but it was just one of those things that December's just not a good time for people listening to music and stuff like that. And
We
uh,
were really honestly, ours would have come out like as I said, we were sitting on it for like a year.
you know,
Um and there was kind of like contractual legal stuff happening that kind of took extra time. Um and then yeah, it kind of pushed to the point where, we had to kind of get all the bows tied on everything, and it got to that point where it was like we wanted it out at the tail end of 2005 for 2025.
yeah,
There. But yeah, kind of just the universe works sort of against us in the sense that we're like it was getting too close to the end of the year, and yeah, the people at our label who obviously like know about that type of stuff, yeah, said exactly the same thing. They said like, and it's kind of like in certainly, I mean, this is, I feel like not something that I'd ever particularly paid attention to because we're very much like DIY hardcore type kid, but like the kind of industry goes on a break for Christmas, and like it feels like most of December and most of January are all just like winding down, being shut for Christmas, and then winding back up. So it's like anything in that whole like winter period
yeah.
seems like you're just not going to get the attention that you possibly could get. Some inside baseball for everyone there. Like, but yeah, so I'm happy with it coming out. It feels like a summer record now. Like I don't know, like over here in the UK, we've had like three like record heat waves. It's been hot as fuck. Like, and so yeah, and if this feels like cool, go outside type of music. drink a beer with your buddy at the in the sun.
Hell yeah. No, I really enjoy the record. It kind of reminds me, and I always hate comparing to other bands, but at least this band isn't around anymore. It kind of reminds me of like Peak Every Time I Die in a way of like all these different sounds like on one record, you know what I mean? And I re-
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny. We've It's not the first time someone said that. And I like our guitarist Matt is like a die-hard Every Time I Die guy. Like
fuck yeah.
he flew to Buffalo for what is now their last show
Yeah.
at their Christmas thing. So he's like serious about Every Time I Die, and like I there's a band we all enjoy. Um, but it's just funny that like that one comes up a lot, and it's kind of like I don't know. It definitely always makes him smile
Oh
'cause
yeah.
that's his very yeah. But yeah, it is funny how like it's a band that I like a lot, and I think that like I certainly like a huge respect for them for doing what they had done for God like 20 or more years. You know, kind of just like they were one of the only bands of that era that just kept doing it and kept getting bigger and kept getting better. Like it's like all of their peers from like the early 2000s were like doing like reunion runs and stuff by the time that they were on their last record, but like they just never stopped and they got way better than everyone else. Like I think that's cool as fuck. So I'm really like huge respect to Every Time I Die. It's not like the first band that I think when I'm like writing stuff, it's never particularly something that's like the front of my mind. So it's
Yeah.
weird that people kind of like everyone seems to latch onto that, where it's not like a main influence for me at least. It definitely is for probably other members of the band,
Yeah.
but no, yeah, like if people think we're the new coming of Every Time I Die, I will take it. There are far worse things that a band could be.
Oh yeah. Yeah. People even forget that they were on the first Guitar Hero game. Like that's how long they've been around and shit. Like that's how I found out about them was the new Black being on Guitar Hero and stuff. But
I was
uh
gonna say, yeah, like
no, and I think the comparison mostly comes from like you like some of the stuff does have like the style, of course, and like some of the riffs, and I will say like the vocal side of things is mostly just because you do like some screams that aren't necessarily just screams. They're kind of like singing, screaming like mixture. And so I can see where that could be
yeah,
the
yeah.
comparison. But also I think it's the uniqueness, like the fact that it's hard to pinpoint exactly like where y'all fall on that
Mhm,
hardcore, punk spectrum. And that's exactly the same thing with Every Time I Die. It's
mhm.
like you can't even talk about them and like actually say what they are like with one thing. You have to say like hardcore punk,
Yeah.
metalcore. Like you have so I feel like the same thing with you guys. So I feel like that's also where the
Yeah,
comparison
yeah.
comes in is
I mean, I
the
appreciate that. Like, I think that that's potentially the same with us. Like, they're certainly a band that were like clearly like around, sort of DIY hardcore punk spaces and stuff. But they're also like super talented, creative people that like were never going to stay in one niche for the whole of their career. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like, but they've still got that authentic, like they were in the trenches at the beginning type of thing, like, and I think that that's really like something that a lot of bands, I mean, I certainly won't name any names. I don't want to get in shit, but like, you kind of get some bands where it's just like their influences are the bands that like copied the other band or something. So you're getting a kind of secondhand version of things, whereas like, I feel like those guys like knew the old shit as well as growing with the new shit as well. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I've probably not explained that very well, but yeah. But yeah, cool band. Uh, they seem like good guys. I hope they make up.
Right. Well, hey, as of
Pains
right
me to
now,
see
they're
brothers fighting. Yeah,
right. As of right now, they're not a band anymore. So go spend your money on Glimmer. Check that album out, buy that
yeah,
album, and help bring Flesh Creep to the U.S. I was about to say bring y'all to the UK. You're in the UK, but uh, no, I'd love to get you guys over here for sure. That'd be awesome. But speaking of the UK, we could talk about a film from over near your parts, Possession from 1981 by Andrei Zulawski. I think is how you pronounce his last
Zalowski.
name.
Yeah, that's how I've been pronouncing it. So
Yeah.
we'll go on Zalowski. Anyone listening that is has I should know as like a little bit Polish. I feel like I should, but I've I've been to Poland like twice in my life. Like I don't, like, I'm
Oh, yeah.
not. Like,
Hey, it's two more times than
um,
I've been, man. I mean,
yeah.
I ate a Polish sausage a couple times in my life, but
I mean, it's great sausages, all right?
right.
But yeah. So yeah, what's it? 1981? Am I
Yeah,
correct on this?
shot in
Like,
80, released in 81. Yep, and then
mhm,
banned after that for forever.
Earthman Forever. Like it's which is really crazy in the sense that it's like I suppose there is like violent parts in it. There's kind of like some goriness. Not really more than a lot of the movies that would have kind of missed the whole video nasty banning scare. But I think it's really interesting because again, it's one of those things where, in terms, if you put like this next to I don't know, like a Cannibal Holocaust or something like a real like those are video nasty movies, and like as much as I obviously wouldn't have agreed with that happening at the time,
Yeah,
a movie like Cannibal Holocaust, you can kind of be like, I can see why they may have banned that.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It's like there's perhaps an element of this where it's just like people shouldn't be watching like animals getting split open and stuff. Like it's whereas Possession is a kind of is an odd one because it's like I say, like it's far closer in my mind to like art house than it is a traditional horror movie.
yeah,
But I do think there's something like evil about this movie. Like there's an atmosphere and an aura to it that is just like hard to shake. I don't know. Every time I watch it, it's like it's suffocating. Like we'll go into it in a moment, but like it feels so like the just the tone of the movie matches the plot and the performances of the movie, and that it's so like chaotic and it feels like you're in the eye of a hurricane in a bad way. Like
yeah,
it's really really like stressful watch. So again, if to the people that maybe haven't seen this movie, um buckle up if you're gonna watch it because this one gets kind of hairy. But yeah, so it followed. It's like to give the elevator pitch. I think it's the maybe the best divorce movie of all
yeah,
time. It's up there with like Kramer versus Kramer and The Brood. As just like there's just a spitefulness, and it even is like you can tell. I'm like that. Andre, like I'm pretty sure like he had just recently gotten divorced before he made this movie.
yeah,
Because it feels like there's such venom coming out of this film, and it's like, but yeah, it set in West Berlin. In obviously, it came in like it was we're talking at the early '80s, so we're in the midst of the Cold War. Um, the divided city, of course, like provides this metaphor for the the fractious relationship of the couple at the start of the movie. Um, yeah, Sam Neill plays Mark, who is a very straight laced, kind of serious, dorky. Like he's like the real like straight and narrow like salary man kind of. Um, yeah, he's a. I don't think of the synonyms to describe this guy, but he definitely I think we'll get further into sort of like whatever kind of metaphors come out from this movie, but he certainly represents order in the split that's happening here. You know, he's that guy. His wife is Anna, played by Isabelle Adjani. Um, lot to say about Isabelle Adjani in this movie.
yeah,
I will get to that. She is. She starts the movie by saying she's going to leave him. Thing that that you kind of you're thrust into the middle of this like very uh as I say, fractious, violent relationship falling apart. It feels like you are in that, like like even just from the camera is like spinning throughout the first like 30 minutes of this movie.
yeah,
There's so many like weird little kind of I don't know, like the way they're like, there's so many scenes where even when they're just like sitting down, it's always like they're sitting down in like a strange, bizarre way that's like just like emanates this feeling of anxiety and like tension. It's such a like odd vibe to like set the tone of this movie, right? Like,
Yeah. Just to kind of piggyback off what you said a little bit earlier with the why this got banned, I think exactly that's why this got banned is the way it
mhm,
made the people feel when they were watching it, not so much of the content of the film, because it does go a
yeah,
little far in certain directions, which we'll get into when we throw out the
mhm,
spoiler alert, but which we'll do very very shortly.
mhm.
But as far as like the fact that when within the first 15 minutes you felt so many emotions already from these, like they've already put on a fucking acting clinic between the two in 15 minutes, and it's like
Absolutely.
I then you got to sit through a whole 2 hour movie of it. So I can imagine the people that don't fuck with this movie or fuck with that kind of vibe, that are used to watching back then, we're used to watching like National Lampoon shit, and then they had
Yeah.
to throw this on in between to rate it, and they're like, fuck, ban it. They're like, just ban it. So I could definitely
I
see
can
where the tone would do that to them, but
100%. Yeah, as I say, it's a yeah, like I say, it's a real kind of I don't know, yeah, like again, it's just there's dark forces at play
yeah,
even from the very start when nothing supernatural has been introduced, which is probably the time to introduce the um spoiler warning. If
yeah.
you've not seen the movie Possession, do not listen any further. Um, because I'm gonna talk about what happens.
Okay.
Um, so you find out that Anna, the female lead, um, is having an affair. Initially, you believe this affair is to be with a German fellow called Heinrich, who is the coolest guy in the world. That guy, like the scene where he's introduced, he's wearing a shirt with one button at the bottom done out.
Yeah. He's
He
like the
lives with
Dos
his
Equis guy in
yeah,
the
like,
world's most
he lives
interesting
with his
man.
mom in this fucking like gorgeous like apartment. Um, he's like got this just untamed sexual aura to him, despite being like an old man. He does this crazy like when Sam Neill's character confronts him and he like fights, he like kind of really like kicks the shit out of him, but in this
Yeah.
like very bizarrely sexual way. Like it's super like jarring. This character. He also has the best line I think in the movie where he says about oh god, I'm butchering it now. It's something about like, oh, we need to discuss uh that most profoundly what's it like, that most profoundly vulgar structure, the triangle.
Yeah.
I love that. Um, he also, again, like kind of to give some context to, like as I say, this movie being set in Berlin in the Cold War. I noticed for the first time, or I should say, my wife noticed. She will listen to this and give me shit if I try and steal one of her points. She noticed there is a hammer and sickle flag in his apartment there's a scene where they kind of go through a couple of rooms and there's like just right in the background that it's there. And that kind of made me think about again. So it's a city divided, obviously West and East Berlin. Mark is clearly, as I say, he's order in this situation. So like if we're looking at this movie in a sort of political state, like he's representative of West Berlin. Heinrich is the sort of new radical East Berlin that's kind of sort of like untethered to the rules, but also super chaotic and kind of like he's got this like newfound energy coming to him.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a super interesting like mix of that kind of sort of. That's not like something that's I don't think it's not like the point of the movie, but I do think there is an element where the setting and the characters are kind of linked like that.
Yeah.
Just my two takes there. Um, anyway, you find out Anna, who again is Isabelle Adjani's character, is also fucking like a big worm. I think is the best way you could describe it. Uh, who is frightening. Like I forget. I did just look up the guy who did the like practical effects on this movie.
Yeah, I rewatched
Um,
it today and I try to remember his name from the opening credits like a dumbass. By the time the movie
it's
was over, I was like, I don't remember. I'm gonna look it up too.
Of course. It's but he does such a great job on this weird, like, gross worm creature, and it's such again, it's sort of like we're kind of jumping forward a little bit here, but when you kind of first reveal this, I believe it's the PI finds him first, right?
Yeah.
And he's kind of like everyone else in this movie is like understandably shocked that this gross, slimy worm monster not only like is exists in the first place, but is also having sex with Isabelle Adjani,
Yeah.
who is like unparalleled, like maybe the hottest woman of all time in this movie. Like she's perfect. Like, and again, look, I want to do like a whole bit on Isabella Adjani's um, not only performance, but just like how she kind of is depicted and shown in this movie. I just think is a we could do a whole hour on that. Like, um, but yeah, so everyone is like reacts in a way that anyone would and thinks this thing is gross and weird,
Yeah.
whereas she doesn't, and it seems to be not only not repulsed by this thing, but also frequently has sex with it. Like it's, which again, on face value, is kind of weird and off-putting. And I think lots of people that maybe aren't prepared to sort of think in a more kind of metaphorical sense about this film
Yeah.
might tap out at this part and just be like, yeah, that's kind of stupid. but, uh, but yeah, so again, like I think from there things kind of I don't want to kind of go into 2 minute detail. There are lots of sort of weird side characters and different kind of points that come across throughout the movie. Everything is really just odd and deranged in a way that you can't quite put your finger on. And it's like there's definitely a sense of humor to the film, but like I don't know ever how much it lets on that it whether it's like being funny or not. Like um specifically with, as I say, the side characters like um was it is it because it's Heinrich's as mentioned, but there's also Margie,
Yeah.
who's Anna's like friend, who Sam Neill's character hates and she hates back, and I don't know, just has this really like again also kind of chaotic presence that when she comes in and she's like I don't know, just sort of bursts in.
Yeah.
um, so it's just full of this just like really weird, just odd characterizations. Everyone's acting so strange, but not like too jarring. Like no one's trying to like steal the scene, except for in some cases where um, certain people do.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's just this, yeah, it's just this kind of weird mess of odd behavior and crazy. I would love to be like a fly on the wall on that set one day. Like, what direction were they given to do the like? Did he sit there and was like, oh yeah, can you like act like completely bizarre and in a way that no one would? like,
Yeah.
as I mentioned, like the multiple scenes in this movie where Sam Neill is sitting on a chair in a way that is crazy. Like, there's the famous like rocking chair scene where he's going like all the fucking way back on the rock. That's nuts. Like, there's that other scene where he's doing a he's a retired he's quit his job, right, as a spy, I think.
That was my guess. Yeah, like private. Yeah, private
Yeah,
eye spy something.
but there's that scene where he's like at the desk with the four guys and he's just like swinging from side to side in his chair, like he's in front of his boss. like it's
Yeah.
such a weird like, and then the camera is like swinging in the other direction. Like it's so seasick and odd. It's such a like such a trip of a movie. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I think there's like endless kind of. I mean, you can go on YouTube and there's a million different sort of fan theories and sort of analysis that I won't kind of go into too much because I think that kind of takes the fun out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, what was your like kind of like when did you first encounter this movie and like and how what was your kind of first reaction?
So I had actually seen it, well, not seen it, but like seen it on multiple lists like throughout the years of like films that are like hard to find, but like you need to watch and
Mhm,
stuff. And so I didn't actually get to see it until it finally hit the like that restoration happened about 2 years ago, and it started hitting Shutter and all that. And like the very
mhm,
first time it hit like streaming, I like immediately watched it, and I was blown away by it. And I'm like, to me, we're in this world now where we get more films with this type of such unsettling tone, like
mhm.
like nowadays I feel like this film would come out through A24, you know what I mean, just because
Oh,
like
absolutely, yeah.
we're not so like we're as filmmakers are not so shy to just leave people feeling like absolute shit after a movie, but and I like that, you know what I mean, that's something I look for in movies.
Mhm,
So I absolutely loved this film. And then I gotta say though that it was so confusing the first, like a lot of the stuff at the end the first time, that I feel like it
mhm,
took me out of a lot of the stuff that happened early on. But I did get to go see this with my wife a second time. She had never seen it, and we got to go see this at a planetarium where they were like showing it up on like a, like they projected it up like with the stars, and you got to watch it. And
mhm,
I just remember that time like leaving with some, like me and her, that was the first time I got to conversate with somebody afterwards to talk about it. And I just remember that like opening my mind up to so much more like stuff throughout it, and like what the monster
mhm,
meant, in my opinion, and all this other
mhm.
stuff. But no, I do want to mention with the side characters and shit, I love Heinrich's mom. Like every time she's on the phone, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like souls and this and that, and so
And
unnecessary.
how
Like
she
she
there's
doesn't
that
need to be
really,
there.
like there's that really, like, beautiful scene at the end where Mark goes and sort of, like kind of like, again, spoiler alert, soft confesses to, like, killing him in a way, but, like, doesn't I don't think he, like, s lets on that he has murdered him, but he's just like, "Yeah, your son's dead."
You know,
And she just kind of really casually is just like, "I'll probably just kill myself then," like, and it's like, and it's this really like gorgeous, like they're just kind of sitting in the greenhouse, just sort of like staring into space, pondering existence or whatever. And it's just like such a, yeah, like a crazy, again, like it's such to the benefit of the movie that they put all these weird, like strange side characters in there,
you know.
that just add it to this really like crazy, bizarre world that I feel like is it's like, I know it's like in normal reality, but it feels like even like when they introduce the more supernatural elements, it almost like doesn't feel that much of a shock because it's like, oh well, everything else in this movie is insane. So yeah, sure, there's a worm monster. Or whatever. Like it's but I think it's kind of it's worth spending some time on. There's a couple of scenes in this movie that I think are like all timers. Um, there is. I'm gonna go from like. I guess I'm gonna save the best till last. I'm sure you
Yeah.
know which one I mean. Um, there's
By
a
the way,
scene that really.
real
Mhm.
quick before you get into that, I do want to say I looked up the effects artist. It's Carlo Rambaldi is who did it. So
Ah,
yeah,
okay, yeah. Does he done? He did something else cool, right?
I know that his name definitely popped out. Like when his name popped up, I immediately was
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
remember
That's
that
definitely
name.
one
But
that like rings a bell to me.
oh, it looks like he did E.T. So
Oh, okay. I mean, which has fucking sick.
yeah, that
Like
makes sense. Yeah,
that makes yeah, it's, easily that fits.
worked on
Um.
E.T., Alien,
Cool.
Close Encounters. So yeah, the dude's done a bunch of good shit.
Yeah, yeah. That totally like tracks.
Yeah,
But yeah, so there's a scene early-ish in this movie where Mark, played by Sam Neill, and his Anna, played by Isabelle Adjani, are having an argument. The argument moves into the kitchen, which feels super claustrophobic. Like there's just no space between them. And it's like shot from like up high, so it just feels like they're cramped into this tiny space. Um, Mark is really like sort of like pontificating about um like, oh, don't you love me anymore? And he's really like giving it this whole big like, why are you leaving me kind of spiel. She is staring into space whilst putting sausage meat into a like like meat grinder.
yeah,
Um which already feels super unnerving, and it's like, okay, like I know something horrible is gonna happen here.
yeah,
Um And you kind of like it does a real good bait and switch in the sense that like you think that there's some kind of like something's going to happen with his meat grinder, and it doesn't end up happening with that. Um, and it's the tension is like building and building and building. It's kind of like just zooming into this like what seems to be a encounter that's about to happen, and then right when it gets to fever pitch, Isabelle Adjani just picks up like one of those like electric knives that you cut a turkey with, and just jams it into her neck, and
Yeah.
it's so fucking like it comes out of nowhere, and it's like even though like it's not super like practical effects, kind of like it's like it leaves a lot to the imagination in terms of like you don't really see it like rip her skin apart, but like I don't know, it's well, that's like well those electric knives. I remember as a kid having like an innate fear of that, just being like, oh, imagine if that got me. Like
Yeah.
it's like I think any kind of mechanized blade is like a naturally scary thing. Like there's a reason why like the chainsaw is like this like horror trope, right? It's just like sharp things going fast, no good. That's always going to end in tears. And in this case, it really does, and it's a really like early doors kind of like at this point they've just been kind of fighting with each other, and nothing like too brutal has happened. And that's this first kind of instance of like, oh shit, like something's really off here.
Yeah.
Which leads on to there's a scene. I'm not sure. Like I'm kind of trying to think back onto my notes here. I think it happens a little bit later on. Um,
We
there's
also
a
got
scene where
in the kitchen scene. You
okay,
also got Sam Neill goes on to cut his arm too, which is pretty unsettling as well. When he like starts chopping.
yes, of
Yeah,
course, yeah.
it looks so
He
real.
goes and just like really like methodically just slices his arm open. Truly like rough watch. Like it's yeah, like and as I say, not even like obviously me and you and many other horror fans will have obviously been privy to far like gooier violent moments in movies, but this one just feels specifically like close.
Yeah.
Something about it. Um, so they carry on fighting, and then it should also be noted they have a son who is completely forgotten in this movie. Like there's like neither of them seem to give a shit that they have a toddler who's walking around in the midst of this chaos. That they kind of every now and again just remember like, oh shit, yeah, like oh shit, I left my child in the apartment for a week.
Yeah.
Um, it's really like this poor kid gets a real run of it. But yeah, there's a scene where I believe Isabelle Adjani initiates, she slaps Mark, and it really like slows down for again. It's like the first real time in the movie where like the pace kind of slows down, and it goes into this like super close up shots of both of their faces, and he's like, "Do it again." And then there's a really like upsetting scene of him like hitting her back, um, which again I think just kind of brings it kind of back to reality in just enough of a way that like I don't know, like obviously it's just a really upsetting thing to see on a movie or in any way. Like domestic abuse is really like gross and hard to watch in any capacity.
Yeah.
But I think that the way that it's really easy to kind of use it in an almost like I don't know, kind of exploitative, like gratuitous way, especially in a movie like this that's like about obviously the breakup of a relationship. And I think that it does it in just enough way to just really drive home this point of the like, oh, this is a really tumultuous, horrible situation for everyone involved, and it just yeah, really like cuts down to again. It's not the most gory or horrific part of the movie by any sense or stretch of the imagination, but it definitely like adds this level to it for me where it just kind of like zooms you back into reality for a second. So yeah, that is I think is a pivotal scene within the movie that I think is worth noting.
Yeah.
Um, again, so much like weird, crazy shit happens throughout that it's hard to. You could go through every single scene in this film
Yeah.
and analyze it frame by frame.
you mentioned Bob and how they neglect him. There's one point where he just passes him off to the teacher, which is weird as fuck to me. Like, get him out of the tub, and like your naked kid. But the teacher, like that whole thing with her is like weird as shit. That she
Of,
looks like
of
Isabella.
course, absolutely, yeah. That is actually. I'm just looking at my notes now, and that was one of them. That it is super fucking strange that like he meets the yeah. So again, spoilers. He meets the kid's teacher looks exactly like Isabelle Adjani. It's obviously she's played by Isabelle Adjani in a
Yeah,
wig and like crazy green um, contact lenses. There's this is a part of the movie that kind of again I'm sure there's like in-depth analysis of this movie. Kind of it comes back at the end where you find out that like the worm monster sort of she's like fucked it into a perfect version of kind of like the mix of like when like at the very end and it's the sort of new Mark is there. He's kind of like both he's like looks like Mark. He's got the eyes like the teacher, but he's also wearing just a blazer and no shirt on underneath, like Heinrich. So he's kind of this weird like mix of all the characters. I don't know, like it seems there's like many ways that you can look at this, and I don't want to. I kind of think it's not fun to go too deep into the theories and say like I think it represents this or whatever. But it is a weird sort of these characters that are kind of these weird like avatars that appear in this movie are kind of like sort of like manifested projections of like what the characters want really
yeah,
like and because again I think it's you I'm glad you brought that up because in the scene where yeah Mark very casually just palms his child off onto his school teacher and then was just like oh yeah will you just bathe and feed my kid for a bit like it's super inappropriate and weird but there's a scene going back to the electric knife scene there's a scene where Mark and I forget what the do you even find out what the teacher's name is.
I don't know. They might mention it like very briefly,
She
but I don't.
doesn't she gives him a note and says this is my name right but I don't think you ever actually find out what the name is.
Yeah, I think they keep that a secret
Either
on
way,
purpose. But
we'll refer to her as the teacher. Um, but yeah, there's a scene with the two of them in the same kitchen that the horrendous like electric knife scene has happened in.
Helen is her
Um,
name. Sorry.
Helen, there we
Yeah,
go. But this scene is super calm and like if everything from like the camera movements to the lighting just feels nice and relaxed, and it's like it's so it's such a juxtaposition of like when Anna like you know everything's swirling and unstable and erratic and then this character is just like this has this such soothing effect over everything even like the way that like the fundamental structure of the movie like the shots are just smoother and nicer and the camera moves in a nicer like it's a very I think there's definitely some kind of I don't know. There's some kind of intention there in that. I think that who these characters are supposed to represent in the mind of Andrzej Zawadzki. Um, I think yeah. Again, trying to kind of compartmentalize the movie and get to the bit. Let's dive into the big scene that I
yeah.
think everyone who maybe has heard of this movie probably knows it from this particular part. There is a scene where Isabelle Adjani is at a it starts with her at a church, right? Or she's just going past a. It's like it's a flashback from when she's talking to Mark and she's trying to explain like why she's being so weird.
Yeah.
And she kind of starts babbling about the sister of faith and the sister of choice. It then goes to this kind of flashback of her like crying at a statue of Jesus and then it shows her on the tube or what's like whatever the subway. I don't know
Yeah.
what's the Berlin word for that like
I have no idea.
the train.
Yeah.
She's on the train. Um, uh, she there's a really like weird section. Is it in the same bit where like the she sits like next to the homeless guy in a completely empty train, which seems kind of odd.
Yeah.
And then she gets off and gives what may well be the most like I'm struggling for words to even think of like what this scene and what this performance. Um, it's truly something to be experienced.
Yeah.
There's there's in the history of cinema, I don't think there's many more kind of visceral. Just she freaks out in a tunnel. You know, you've seen the picture. You know that you got the mental image of this scene. There's nothing that could prepare you for this in this movie. As deranged and psychotic as this film is, all the way up to this point, and even like in the lead up, there's probably 20 shots in this film where she just looks directly into the camera, like almost breaking the fourth wall, that are like just the most haunting thing you've ever seen in your life. Like she's like she sets such a tone of, as I say, like just psychotic evil of ominous, like, do you know what I mean? It's just there, like there's just this thick darkness coming out of this certainly the movie, but also definitely her performance. And then it leads up to this scene and it's just jaw on the floor. Like I think the first time we watched it, me and my wife had to pause, like, and just kind of like go and smoke a cigarette or something. Like it's like and then she kind of like, in her words, she miscarried. I mean, she miscarries the sister of choice in for the benefit of the sister of faith or whatever. It gets very philosophical about this part. But
Yeah.
yeah, anyone that's watched this movie knows this scene. Anyone that hasn't watched this movie, do yourself a favor and give it up for Isabelle Adjani for what may be the greatest performance in all of movies. Like it's really something else. She famously kind of, I believe, had like a bit of a breakdown after she shot this movie. And you watch this and you're like, oh, of course you did.
Yeah.
Like it's yeah, it's heavy stuff.
Like
Um,
who wouldn't fucking? I hope, like, I hope you did. If not, you might not have something wrong with your shit. But no, it's her influence. Like it goes to show just how the influence still travels through today. I mean, they tried to recreate it in the first Omen, with
uh-huh,
them doing it in that scene, and then of course Lily Rose Depp said, Isabella Johnny was like her biggest inspiration for all the stuff in Nosferatu, and
that's right.
yeah, so
You
like,
would
and
certainly, yeah.
yeah, it's so I mean even 44 years later, or 45 years later, which I guess, yeah, we're falling on 45 years this year. So we're hitting it on the 45-year anniversary as well.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so that's another reason to talk about it. But the fact that, it's still carrying on that much influence, that, that pretty much this is the call out for a lot of female leads in horror when they have something physically taxing to do in a film, even if it's something very small, they always call back to like, oh, I'm inspired by possession, so.
Certainly, like it's one of those kind of strange. What's the classic Sex Pistols at the Ritz in Manchester? Like, I believe the story goes that the Sex Pistols played this gig in Manchester, and it was like, it was a small, intimate show. But amongst the couple of hundred people that were in the crowd it was like the guys in Joy Division, and it was the guys in like the Smiths, and all these other like bands that would go on to become these like seminal great bands. And I think it kind of, there's a little bit of that with Possession, in the sense that like it's, up until very, very recently, it was the definition of a cult hit. Like you couldn't, and up until I think last year, I don't know what it's like in the States, but like over in the UK, like just wasn't a DVD or Blu-ray release of it for years. They've just put out like a big like box set, kind of like, like booklet, poster, kind of special edition type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie was super inaccessible for the longest time, and it was just like, if you know, you know, and you just had to kind of be savvy on illegally downloading shit and stuff like that. And it was So there's like it's really definitely one of those things where I think that everyone who appreciates this movie has kind of, you don't want to be a gatekeeper about these things, but like, because certainly God knows I tell everyone, like everyone I think will be able to handle it. I'm like, you've got to watch Possession. It's the best. Um, but there is this kind of feeling of just like, oh no, this is like it's our thing, and it's not like it's not a movie that gets its flowers like it should do up
Yeah.
until, as I say, very recently for whatever reason, and again I think part of me as a fan of this movie and like I think it's so great, like I can understand why it's reached a new generation. It is also a weird, like in the same way that like so with, what I'm about to alluding to is that like I think like TikTok perhaps has for some reason blown up the movie Possession from
Yeah.
45 years ago. Um, in the same way that like Crowbar has gotten like huge because of TikTok,
Yeah.
and like it really speaks to like the how disillusioned the current generation of youth are, where it's just like Crowbar's like depressing, like that's music to listen to when you've like hit rock bottom and you've seen some shit. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's, I can't imagine being like 16 and being like, yeah, this speaks to me, like I got detention. Like it's like,
Yeah, there's a reason their
and in the same way that
crowbar shows are full of old heads for a long time.
yeah, like exactly. Like it's really crazy to me that like that would be music that a young person would be into. In the same way that like Possession is like a movie that like everyone kind of north of 40 or 30 even like has probably experienced a bad breakup at some point in their life. Like you've you've also like you've done regretful things and you've had regretful things done to you. There's a lived in quality to this movie that like even as far out as it can go, it always has this relatable core to it because it's like fucking like I get it, man. Like and it's kind of, I think there's a universality to it because again it's like these centered around these two characters who are both freaks and completely insufferable. Like as much as is said about Isabelle Adjani's kind of totally manic performance, like Sam Neill is just as weird. Like everything he does is odd in this movie, and like it's one of those things where it's like unfortunately, I'm sure many of us have been in relationships where it's just like this is super toxic and shouldn't work, and for whatever reason, there's like something drawing you to this person. Um, so yeah, I think much like the best movies, there's a human core to it that I think is it never loses sight of like what it feels like to be in these situations, and I think that that's why it's certainly why it resonates with obviously it came out years before I was born. I still love it.
Yeah.
And so I can understand why it relates. Like it's been passed on down the generations, um, which leads us to the next point,
Yeah.
which is that I can't remember who is actually putting out this. So there's a remake happening.
Yeah.
Um, it's is it A24 doing it? Like
I don't
it's like
think.
A24 like Neon or something, right? Like
Yeah, let me get those
it
details
feels
up.
like more in that lane than in like the Bloomhouse lane, right? Like
Paramount's doing it.
Paramount. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Which
I
makes sense
suppose
because
that
Parker Finn is doing it, the director of
yeah.
Smile and Smile 2,
Well,
and
yeah.
they did that for Paramount. So and it might have been one of those things where they were like, yo, Smile made us so much money. What do you want to do? And he's pulling a
That's
Gus Van
kind of
Sant Psycho.
yeah. I mean, that's like the that's the only way I can kind of get my head around it because it seems like a really weird thing to give like, oh, like this guy's made two movies. He's only done Small and Small 2, right? Like
Yeah, and those
to
were
my
just
knowledge.
based off of a short already. So
Yeah. So he's kind of like made two movies that are like a sequel of one another, and then for like the third film is going to be like, I'm going to go for one of the classics. Which I
got balls.
suppose is probably, yeah, it's a ballsy move. Like, and I guess like you could say the same with like Eggers and Nosferatu, because he that was originally going to be. like his it was kind of like I remember when that first was talked about. That was like straight after The Witch, right? Like
Yeah, that was
maybe
supposed to be
after
a second film. Yeah, and he like didn't want
yeah,
to rush it, and then like issues happened with who's the big
of
ass
course.
producer on it? It's
It's the guy who did fucking
Christopher
Home Alone.
Columbus. Yeah,
Chris Columbus, yeah.
yeah,
It's yeah, so it's like, and I can kind of understand from like that point of view of just being like, am I ready after doing one movie to like take on fucking Nosferatu? Like
yeah,
it's, you know what I mean? It's like, and I think that like in many ways, Possession, I would, I'm putting it in the same kind of. I'm holding it with the same esteem that I would hold a movie like Nosferatu. Like, obviously, it's hard to. There is, God, what like if 50 years between the two that
yeah,
um but yeah, it's so already horror remakes are a funny thing. They are not exclusively bad. There are many exceptions to the rule. I think you and me have talked about on the last show. We both like the Suspiria remake, right?
yeah,
Which I was not expecting to like.
yeah,
I like Luca's stuff, but he's not a horror director, and I didn't like. I think to many levels, that's the reason why it's kind of good because it's Suspiria, much like Possession, isn't a typical horror movie. So it would be wrong to give it to like someone who's too genre.
yeah,
Um, what other good horror remakes are there? The Hills Have Eyes remake is fucking sick as fuck. It's like dirty and weird and fucking gnarly. Like I know a lot of people have a fondness for the 2013 Evil Dead remake.
yeah,
So there's like these things have happened and they've turned out well. So like it's not always the death knell like it is for some kind of genres. Um, that being said, there are lots of misfires. There's a, it's very rare that a movie can, certainly in a horror movie, because so many horror movies are really like just indebted to the era in a way that's really nice, and it's kind of like, you can put on like, I don't know, Dream Warriors or whatever, and it's just you're in the 80s, and it's a specifically 80s horror movie.
yeah,
Um, just in the same way that you can put on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's all of a sudden like this is the 70s. Like it's, like, and I really like that, and I think that like you can't, as we've seen with both of those movies, gonna struggle to like get that atmosphere in specifically the Nightmare on Elm Street remake was um, left a lot to the imagination. But yeah, like so it's I think like I'm always one to be like, if you're gonna do it, just go for some kind of like redirection, like try and reimagine it in a way. With the Possession remake, there's something it keeps me up at night because we've found these pictures of Margaret Qualley is playing Isabelle Adjani's part. Margaret Qualley is a fine actress. I really enjoyed them in The Substance.
yeah,
A bunch of other stuff they've done that's great. Like no slight on Margaret Qualley at all. I don't know if she's got the source to do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's not. We'll see, but yeah, that's a tall order. If it's gonna be like who I love is in it. He's got to be Heinrich, right? Like that feels like if anyone, he's going to be the weird third wheeled like love interest guy. Like which that gives me hope for it because as I say, like Paul Dano rocks. Like
yeah,
I mean, I've obviously his accolades are endless. Like all timer performance in There Will Be Blood. I really love Prisoners. I think he's like super good in that.
yeah. I'm torn though because the other cast is Callum Turner.
Callum Turner, right?
Yeah,
Who's
he's in.
he's been in.
He was in Green Room, is what I know him mostly from. He's a vocalist in the band Green
Of
Room,
course,
but
yeah.
yeah, but he's
He's
gone
super
like
young in that movie, though, right? Like,
yes, that's what I was about to say. Is you might recognize him more for he was in that movie called Eternity, I think, that was being promoted like
yeah,
crazy, where the girl went to heaven and she had to choose between her two husbands, and it
Yeah,
was Miles
yeah,
Teller and Callum Turner. But
yeah. So I didn't watch it, but I remember the trailer.
so seeing him, he kind of gives off Heinrich to me a little bit, and Paul Dano, because of his acting ability, I would love to
Hmm.
see him like do what Sam Neill had to do in this film. But I'm worried
Hmm.
that with this remake, that's the problem, is that they're going to tone a lot of that shit down, and we might not get as
Hmm.
much weirdness as the film needs to stand out, you know? So
Well, because and again, I think there's like something about just like one can only imagine that like the production of this movie like informed the final project in the same in the sense that like it's so it just feels so lived in and like all of the emotions in there just feel so real that there's no way you could fake like you know what I mean you just can't replicate it because it's like it feels just like it's coming from inside of these people. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and there's certainly the pictures of Margaret Qualley dressed up in the Anna costume. It looks like a fucking Halloween costume. Like it's so close, but not like quite. And it's just I don't know. It kind of gives me the ick a little bit.
yeah, like why go for that like that specific look, especially when it doesn't really like it's not
Well,
fitting
because
for
that's the thing
today.
as well. She's because it's also yeah, like it's from what I understand, it's set today and in New Jersey, right? Like so,
Yeah.
I hate it's such a boring cliche to be like the city is a character in the movie or whatever. But like perhaps more than any film ever made, the city of Berlin is absolutely essential to the fucking point of this movie. Like that, it's a movie about division, and there's a fucking wall through the like it's hard to ignore. Like that is absolutely intentional. Um, and I don't know enough about the great state of New Jersey. I've been there once. Uh, um, I don't think it has the same kind of taut political history that East and West Berlin had in the Cold War. So I don't know. Are they just kind of going to ignore that? Is it? It's there's so many unanswered questions, and again, it's kind of like it's one of those things where like yeah, for a movie like this, you can't possibly replicate it one for one. So you should take some liberties with the the turn like how it's um, turned out in the end. But at the same time, it's just like oh, but if you're going to just strip it of all the context and everything that kind of makes it make sense in a way, then just have it be like just this weird reenactment, but without any of the pathos. That feels like the way it's heading currently, and I don't know. I've seen enough bad remakes come and go that it's like when when you're a kid and you hear your favorite movie is going to get remade, and you kind of almost get like, oh, is that going to be like the version of this movie that everyone knows now? And I'm going to have to constantly be like, yeah, but have you seen the original?
Yeah.
Um, and that has happened a million times to me that I know that like most times people will just go back to the original. Right? Like it's like there are very few movies in history I think to where it's like the remake has surpassed and like become the like culturally accepted norm over the original version of this. Certainly like from like the 70s and 80s onwards, like in the era of sort of like home media and certainly now in the internet and streaming and everything, like you can just access anything, right? Like you can already you can go and watch a movie from the 40s on your TV, at the touch of a button. Like it's um so yeah, I'm not too stressed that like this is going to become the new possession and everyone's going to forget about the old one.
Yeah.
Um at the same time, hopefully, I wish them the best. I hope it's a good movie. I like it when movies are good. I'm not prejudiced, and I enjoy all movies to succeed. Um, yeah, this one does feel like it's gonna be. It's already working at like a considerable level to get me to be on board. So I feel like there's a lot of winning over that it's going to have to do.
Yeah.
Um,
For me, it just falls into that whole like, there's so many bad movies you can remake. Why remake a near perfect film? You know what I mean? So, like,
yeah, absolutely, because it doesn't feel like particularly dated either. Like
yeah,
there's definitely movies where you could be like, okay, like this is like shot bad, or like the cameras that we made this movie on have been massively like updated, and I still don't really even agree with that. I mean, I think everything's got its charm and if it's ever like, but like it's not even like it's like, oh, we've got technological advances to make this movie better now. It's just like, no, you're just taking this absolute diamond in the rough, like just one of one strange piece of fit. Like, and then again, like like I mentioned, like up until recently has been this like almost a piece of lost media that like just wasn't on anyone's radar. Like it's only people like us who like would read lists of like weird fucked up banned movies or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Which is
yeah,
like a very small subset of the movie going public. Um so yeah, as I say, like it is one of those that like it's the fact that as the aforementioned kind of resurgence in sort of like TikTok fandom of this movie makes it feel a little bit like it's sort of studios being like, oh, people are really into this like weird movie from the 80s now. Like, should we just do that again? Like, um, because it's like if it hadn't have experienced any sort of resurgence, would they be remaking Possession? Like, it's like it feels, um, yeah, it feels like too coincidental that it's happening now. And I don't know, yeah, it's we'll see. I'll be going to watch it.
yeah,
Like, of course I will. Um, because I do kind of like me and my wife have been talking about like, do you ever we'll watch just like a week of straight bangers and then be like, I'm kind of sick of like seeing the best movie of all time every night. Like,
yeah,
should we watch a really bad one and then we can? And then it always ends up that like the bad ones we end up talking about for like weeks later. Just be like, yeah, that sucked when that did that. That was fucking stupid. That was offensive that they mistook this or whatever. Like,
yeah,
um, and then so yes. Whereas the greats like we went to see Goodfellas in the cinema like the other night and we kind of both came out and were just like, yeah, it's the best.
yeah.
What more do you have to say about fucking Goodfellas?
Right.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. If it's if it doesn't live up to the hype, which it won't, the Possession remake will at least be bad enough to inspire some kind of fun criticisms. I'd
Yeah.
imagine.
Or hopefully at least some draw some eyes back to the original, if anything. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah. But before we wrap up and do
Hmm.
like of course we'll rate it out of 10. It's hard to rate this
Hmm.
one, but we'll just give our personal ratings, of course. But I know you don't want to dive into too many of the theories, but there is one theory I did want to kind of talk into, and it's
Uh-huh.
not a theory I found online. It's literally just what my thoughts were coming out of the movie.
Uh-huh.
And it's, do you believe that the miscarriage was a miscarriage, or do you think that that was her actually giving birth to the creature that eventually, because I feel like the creature, in my opinion, was a manifestation of everything. Like,
Hmm.
so I feel like homie left, went to
Hmm.
do his spy shit. She falls in love with Heinrich, and like all that stuff happens for a year. So then when Mark comes back, uh, I feel like just all the like stress of knowing that he's coming back and this and that is what
Hmm.
forced her into that, to manifest the thing. And then
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like from then on, the extra stress of him being back and this and that is what created her, like drove her to be
Yeah.
essentially like pretty much connected to the thing. And it seemed like the creature itself was even controlling her at times, of course,
Mhm.
especially with the ending and telling that girl to shoot and shit. But uh do you feel like it was a manifestation thing, or do you think that that was just a whole nother detached, like, do you think that
I
came from her, or
I think, yeah, I view that in the kind of I'm more in line with that in the sense that like I think it's definitely something that's kind of like more metaphorical than like I don't think I've ever considered it to be like an actual like physical abortion that she's having.
Yeah.
I always thought that it's just like because it's like coming out of her ears and stuff, right? Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
like it's super gooey and shit. Um, yeah, I definitely think that well because again it's just like she's given these two sort of like as I say opposites where Marx like I say is this straight laced guy who represents kind of like order and perhaps like stability, and then Heinrich's this wild radical dude that's like and again like as I mentioned before if you're kind of looking at it in a political lens they kind of represent East and West Berlin like these two sort of like obviously like during the Cold War this type of stuff's happening across the globe but like nowhere probably as in close quarters as like in one capital city like the two major warring ideologies of the world are living next to each other separated by a wall like
Yeah.
um and then so then she has to go to this she's drawn to this third thing which I'm not super sure what represents in any of these kind of metaphors because it's like again like she sort of like the stress of this situation seems to like birth it out of her and then through having sex with it she kind of manifests this like kind of perfect melding of all the characters. It's like it's weird stuff, and again, it's one of those things where it's like it's definitely fun to not have a direct kind of like idea of this.
Yeah, because there's so many theories you can go with the conversation.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it
Like
opens
it's,
up the conversation for sure.
but definitely, I definitely think that like there's so much in that movie that like I think it kind of there's multiple things that establish that like oh like things that are happening here are like more sort of abstract and expressionist kind of displays of what what the director is kind of feeling rather than super like literal kind of events happen. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like so yeah, I definitely see the miscarriage scene is certainly kind of it's hard to know whether like it is real. Do you know what I mean? Like even in the context of like the movie, if it's like is it kind of like a dream sequence or a flashback or like it's not everything's got these like super blurred lines in the kind of like yeah typically sort of like Lynchian yeah artsy way
Yeah,
which yeah I'm a big fan.
right. Right up my alley for sure. But now, speaking of that, do you want to give your rating out of 10 first, or do you want me to go first?
I feel like this is a straight 10 for me like I adore this movie um I just it's a movie that like from the first time I watched it I just felt like was both special and as I mentioned earlier deeply evil. Like it's it just feels like a black hole of a film that sucks you in and throws you around. And I just think that there's very few other movies that make me feel the way that this one does, and there's nothing I would change about it. So I'm kind of a sucker for get overly high rating movies because I just like movies. But this one's certainly in my top 10 of all time, so I've got to get a 10 out of 10.
Fuck yeah. No, we just did an episode last week, and we were talking about kind of like how our scale. Well, the episode that was released last
Mhm,
week, by the time this comes out, it'll be like 2 weeks out, but
mhm,
or 3 weeks. But and we were kind of talking about our scale, and I gave that movie a 7.5, and I really liked that movie a
mhm.
lot. But I was thinking about like when The Exorcist comes around, what I got to compare it to, and this and that. And
That's the
but for
point.
but for me, I'm still going to give this a 9 out of 10. And the only reason I'm not
Mhm.
even giving it that perfect 10 is just because that tone is so distressing and,
Yeah,
hard on people. I
yeah,
could see where it could be a quick turn off for a lot of people.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't let up. Like I said, within 15 minutes, you get that quick, you get the only levity you get is him talking about the pink socks. And the next thing you know, 2 seconds later, they're crying in each other's
All
faces.
that
They're like,
like that bit that's like it just turns into like an action thriller for like 5
oh, yeah,
minutes. And
when he
then, like,
comes back. Yeah.
how sick is that taxi driver as well? When the guy's just like, "Will you run over that cop?" And he's just like, "My pleasure." Like, so sick. But yeah, no, absolutely. Like, it is a other than the aforementioned, yeah, it's a relentless assault of a movie.
Yeah.
Um, So I can totally. I think it may be. And as you mentioned, like if you've got it in my head now where I'm trying to compare it to The Exorcist, and I'm like, well, The Exorcist is a 10 out of 10. If anything, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I stick to that. It's a perfect movie to me personally, but I'm also I'll meet you halfway. Let's give it a joined 9.5.
That were
Split the difference.
right. No, it is definitely near perfect. Like my few complaints are just nitpicky stuff. Like as a personal taste wise, yeah, this would be a 10 out of 10 personal taste wise for sure.
Yeah, it's as I say, it's a true joy and a gift that keeps on giving. Again, to anyone that's listening in on this chat, it's been so fun just like talking about it, and like I love talking about movies anyway, but especially these kind of just odd, kind of outliers type of films. Yeah, I can't recommend enough to anyone that sort of likes this type of weird stuff. Certainly for fans of like the aforementioned, like David Lynch is the sort of obvious. We've both found this movie through like lists of like disturbing, shocking movies or whatever. And I think that it's really important to like also make the distinction that this is not the Human Centipede. This is not like one of these. It's not like a shock value video nasty. This is a kind of like, it's as distressing and chaotic and dark as it can be. It's also kind of beautiful and poetic, and it really kind of has this whole spectrum of what's going on, and it's like, as I say, it's far closer to like an art movie than it is like your traditional horror movie. So if you're looking for like a gore fest, there are many other great editions of the video nasty. But yeah, this is one that's kind of. I think the same about. I mean, again, this is for the next time I'm on, but I feel the same about Sallow, right? Like Sallow is like a fucking like a cinematic masterpiece in many ways, and yeah, there's the gross stuff in it, right? But like it's like that's kind of just a part of it, and I feel like it's really weird when people like put it next to, like, as I say, the kind of super gross out movies, and it was just like, oh no, but there's a message there, and it's like it's but yeah, as I say, I'll start rabbiting on, and yeah, let you get on with your evening or afternoon, right?
Yeah, it's only like 3:30 here, so yeah,
yeah.
I'm going to see the new Spider-Man this afternoon. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I've actually heard good things. I've people on my letterbox seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had a blast talking about this wonderful movie. It's always a pleasure to come on your show.
Same here, man. And honest confession, I've never sat down and watched Sallow. So if you want to come back on and make me watch it, I'll watch it and we can talk about it. So if I have the reason,
we must. I'm going to apologize in advance. It is a hard watch.
I don't like poop, and that's why I haven't watched it, because I know the contents.
Lots of poop in it.
Gore don't get me the
then
poop.
It's a date. Sick. Well, let's let me know when we can do the Sallow episode.
Yeah, no, I'll even blind buy the Criterion. I don't care, but we can. But hell yeah, if you're listening, don't forget to go check out Glimmer by Flesh Creep. Wherever you listen to music, it's fucking excellent. So, hell yeah, man, I appreciate you. Thanks for having. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming on the show again for the third time.
I can't wait for the fourth.
Right. Oh yeah.